How's it going, YouTube? In this video we have the final Tempest card review. It's been a long road and a lot of fun and exciting cards. Hope you guys like the video. As always, if you guys enjoy the content, give me a like, give me a sub. Thank you guys so much for watching. Alright, how's it going, guys? We're back here with another Tempest card review. To start off, we're looking at Deepwood Anomaly, the other 4-strap legendary. This is an 8 play point 8/8, and it reads: whenever this follower attacks the enemy leader, deal damage to the leader until the defense drops to 0. And it's the same thing with Sibyl. So essentially what he says is, if he attacks the face, then the face dies. Like, he might as well be, when he attacks the face, is a 28, right? He has Bane to the face, essentially. So if this guy ever gets to attack the face, the game just ends, right? Now, I see like two reactions to this. One of them is like, people are like, crazy overpowered, broken, how could this affect in the game? And there are people who are like, this card is just bad, right? And I would say I lean more to this card is not that good, but I don't think it's like super bad either. And let me say I do like the art. So why is this card not insane, right? Well, first of all, it's an 8 play point 8/8, and like for an 8 play point minion, the stats are not bad, right? And although he doesn't fight the board when you summon him, if you have an evo, you can evo him into a 10/10, and that's pretty solid, right? The problem is that there is like counterplay to it, which is good, right? That's a good thing. That's a good design, in that your opponent can remove this guy with a removal. They can attack into it and kill it. They can ward up. Like, there's things that they can do to, it's not like you play this guy on 8 and you auto win the game on 9. It is not like that at all, right? And even if it was like that, which is not, things like Seraph are like, I mean, Seraph is good, but it's not like game breaking either, right? So, I mean, the effect is cool. I think it's interesting. I could see a Control Forest playing it if they, like, you know, want to go for that. And, you know, he definitely can in the game. But I feel like at this point, well, like, when he's doing 10 damage or 8 to the face, like, not enough, if that makes sense, right? Like, you can play Jungle Warden instead and just end the game on 10 with 10 damage burst, right? With Storm, without having to, like, have a guy survive the turn, right? And the order is this, if you combo in with the Wolf, right? So if you combo with the Wolf, you can play it for 0 next turn, and then you have to wait a turn after that for it to get to attack, right? Even if you buff it with, like, Lisa or something like that, so it can't be targeted, it A still does things like Bahamut and Decree, and B, it's like, you gotta play the Wolf, then play this guy, and then next turn you kill. And if you're playing the Wolf, you might as well play Silver Bolt, because that just kills the turn after, and it doesn't care about wards, and it doesn't care about, like, being removed or anything like that, right? So, in a Wolf deck, I think the Bolt is still way better than this, and I don't think you get a big benefit out of playing this guy in that. That said, it's a cool effect, and it's a strong effect for sure, right? It's not like it's super bad or anything like that, so, well, I don't think it's too good, and I don't expect to see a lot of play. Maybe some Control Forest decks, which hopefully will be a thing. They definitely could play him in the deck, and it wouldn't be like complete garbage either, right? So it's a cool card. I think the effect is cool. It's interesting. I don't think it's that great though, but not horrible. I think in Take 2 this card is pretty good though, because in Take 2, by this point you usually don't have evolutions left, and 8/8 will likely stick on the board, and at that point, like, in Take 2, having been able to end the game like that is pretty solid, because unlike a Seraph or something, you can only draft one of these, and, like, you don't need any combo pieces, right? So in Take 2, I think it is pretty good, though, but, in Constructed, it's, like, not that great, but not unplayable either. Seems alright, though. Okay, next we have, Magic Girl Melvie, a Runecraft Gold, 5 play point 4/4, Fanfare. Both players draw cards until each has 7 cards in their hand. So let me say that there's only other one other card, I believe, in the game that makes your opponents draw cards, which is Sammy, who is also a Runecraft card. Now, this kind of far-fetched, but I wonder if in the future they might do like a mill rune archetype. And I don't know if that's the direction that Side wants to go or anything like that. But they have Sammy, and this card makes your opponent draw as well. So in the mill deck, then obviously they would play that. But with these two, it's not enough to make a mill deck. So what other deck would play this, right? Like, maybe an aggro deck that wants to, like, empty their hand out and do this and refill their burst. But if you're going to do that, then, I mean, Daria is way better, right? As it costs less, it boosts your hand, doesn't draw cards for your opponent. So, like, if you're going to do that route, Daria is infinitely better. So I don't see that there. I don't think control decks want to play as in-game aggro decks 7 cards so they can draw the burn that they need either. So, It doesn't seem that great. It's a cool effect, right? But I don't think it's great. I don't see any constructor that playing this. Take 2 maybe, but even then it's like, I could probably get better things, right? Like as a gold, you still want to have like a Levi or something. Okay, next we have Sibyl, a bronze forest craft, 3-drop, 1-4 stats. At the end of your turn, give all other allied followers +1 defense. And if you're with the same thing, kind of a weird card. It has like not the best of stats, but 3 for 1-4 is like not unplayable. It's not like they're not great, but they're not horrible stats, right? And it buffs all your other followers, but it gives them health. Usually a lot of the buffs on Forest are like, they give them attack. Things like Blessed Fairy Dancer, Cynthia, Wind God, stuff like that. Because you usually want to be aggressive with your fairies, right? This would let your fairies trade better, but as 1-2s, like, okay, they will trade better against 1-1s, and that's about it. And obviously it's not like you play strictly fairies. It can buff other minions as well, right? But, like I said, as a turn 3 play seems kind of weak. I guess if you go first and you have a 2-2 and you play this, it makes that into a 2-3, which is not bad. But that's more of like a take 2 play. I don't think that cuts it in Constructed. And I don't know, it just seems not that great, I guess. It's like not too exciting. Don't see a deck playing this. And take 2, like, again, you might take it and could be okay if you're playing on curve, but even then it's not too exciting, so don't think it's that great. Okay, next we have Sibyl of the Waterwym, a Dragoncraft legendary. So let me say that I'm a little sad and disappointed that we did not get a Orca legendary. I really hope that we would. And we did not today, but that doesn't mean that next expansion or something we might not, right? Okay, that said, here is one of the Dragoncraft legendaries. It's a 5-play 4/5 fanfare. Get an empty play point if this card is played on your 5th turn or later. And separate from this, at the end of your turn, if you are in overflow, you heal for 3, right? So it's kind of a weird card because, like, if it was just a 5-play point 4/5, gain a play point orb, and you heal for 3, it'd be insane, right? Absolutely insane. Because it's kind of like Fervor with a body, right? Where Fervor, you get a play point and you heal. And obviously you draw cards, but if Fervor drew you a 0 play point 4/5, like, you would play that, right? So this card is not exactly like Fervor, though, because if you play this on, let's say you ramp up and you play this on turn 4, you won't get the play point, and you also won't be in overflow, so you won't get the heal. And in that case, it's not that great, right? Now, what can happen, though, is, let's say you play this on your turn 6, assuming you did not ramp here, you would get the play point, or even on turn 5, and you, like, okay, let's say you ramped up once. So it's turn 5 and you have 6 play points. You play this, you get a play point, so you ramp, you are in overflow, and now you heal. And that's like best case scenario, and in that situation, this card is really, really good. How often do you get to that point, though? I mean, probably not that hard, as Ramp Dragon will likely ramp at least once, right? So, if you have ramped once, and you play this card, and you go into overflow, then it's really, really good, right? And I don't think that's that big a requirement. Plus, you can still play this in a late game and still ramp up, and it's not bad either, right? Like, let's say you don't get the dream, and you play this on, like, turn 7 or 8, you still would heal, still get the play point, and that's still good, right? Because at that point, it is like the Fervor, but you get a 4/5, which is solid. Because it will let you ramp up while finding the board. Like, a problem with the ramp decks is that they spend their cards ramping. Means that they, A, go low on cards, right? As your cards ramp and do nothing else. And B, you go down on the board. This card, A, gives you a card because you have a minion. And it's a minion so it can fight the board, and that's good. So, if you don't ramp and you play this on 5, it's, like, not good, but it's not unplayable. And if you have ramp, then it's pretty good. And in the late game, it's also good as well. So I do like it, and I think it's pretty good. And I do expect to see playing Ramp Dragon. Okay, next we have the Assault Werewolf, a Bloodcraft Bronze. It's a 4-play point 2/5. And I gotta say that the art is pretty sweet. He's got like a spear or something. I don't know. He looks pretty cool. I like it. Effect is Clash. We've not seen a lot of Clash effects in Tempest. And I guess that's not too surprising, right? So effect is Clash. Gain Bane until the end of the turn, if the enemy follower has ward. So if he attacks a ward, he gets Bane, and he kills it. How good is that? I mean, like 2/5 are not, it's not horrible stats, but it's not really where you want to be in 4 play point minion. And against wards, he's pretty good. But even then, like, he would gain the Bane and then not have it after, right? So, it doesn't seem that good. And like, while it's not a horrible card, I just like, I don't see you playing this over any other blood card for 4 is essential here. So I don't expect to see playing Constructed. And in take 2, you can take it and not be too sad about it. Even if you don't get the value, it's a 2-5, which is like okay. And if you ever get the Bane, then it's like, you'll be happy, right? So okay in take 2, but I don't see it being played Constructed. Not at all. Next we have the Holy Bowman Kel, a Havencraft 2 play point, 2-2. Whenever your leader is defensive restored, deal 2 damage to the enemy leader. It's a pretty cool card because right now we have Elena's, which buffs your dudes if they Elena's buffs your guys if you heal, right? And this is an artifact that happens if your leader is healed, but it's that you do damage to the enemy leader, and that's a pretty cool thing. I imagine that Elena decks would play this, right? Let them be a little more aggressive instead of being so defensive. And you know, that's cool. It's nothing too horribly exciting, but so look at this in effect. In take 2, it's like a 2-2, so you just take it and not be sad or anything. In Elena deck, this seems pretty solid, right? It could be good. And I wonder if there's a combo where you could play this guy, get a lot of mass heals and do a lot of damage. And that, you know, that could give Elena some burst that they might not otherwise have, so there's that as well. Seems interesting. Not horrible, right? Interesting. So first off, we have Mighty Dwarf, a Forestcraft Silver. It's a 7 play 1/6/5. Clash, deal 2 damage to the enemy leader, and only avoids the same effect. So, my first thought is that the card is boring. Like, when you're playing a lot of play points, okay, like 5 or 6 or rather than that, like, you want cool, interesting effects. And this card to me is just boring from other side's perspective. So when you do minion combat, you do 2 damage to the enemy leader, which is okay. That's not great. That's not bad either. And it has decent stats. It's not great stats, but it's not horrible stats. So I don't see any construct deck playing this. Not at all. In take 2, you can take this if you need some late game and be okay with it. The 2 damage might matter, right? But I think it's kind of boring and not too exciting. I don't expect to see any constructed play. Okay, next we have Ivy Spellbomb, a Forestcraft Bronze spell. 3 play points. Deal 3 damage to enemy follower. Then deal 2 damage to enemy leader if at least 2 other cards are played this turn. And I don't really like this card because, like, dealing 3 damage to enemy follower, some spells can do for 2 play points, right? So you're playing 3 to do 3, and then you get 2 face damage, which is relevant, but like, I feel like if you're playing an aggressive forest deck, there's other things you can do, right? You'd like, at that point, I'd play like a Dance of Death or something. And if you're looking for the early removal, then you could play Elemental Lands, which can do 6 damage, and that's not even played at all, right? So I don't see this card being, I don't see it too good. In take 2, you'll take it and it's not bad, but it's not great either. And in Constructed, I don't see it. Like, you'd have to go like Fairy, Ivy Spellbomb on 5. Is that even worth it? I don't know that it is. So I don't think it's too great. Not the biggest fan of it. Okay, next we have a Jolly Rogers, a Swordcraft Silver Commander. It's a 6 play point 5/6. Fanfare, randomly gain Rush, Bane, or Ward. Now, I don't like the random effect. Shadowverse is pretty good at not having those type of effects in the game. Only very few cards have those things where they rely on randomness. Most of the things you can choose, right? So I don't like that from a game design perspective. Power level wise, like, it's decent stats, right? And the effects that he would gain are like, okay, if he gets Rush, is decent. Bane is decent. Ward is decent. It's just like you can't choose the one you want, so it's going to be awkward. I don't see this ever being played and constructed. And in take 2, again, you can take it, not feel bad. But you're going to be sad when you need the Ward and you get Rush, or you get Bane, or you need Bane and you get Ward, something like that, right? Like, it's just kind of awkward there, so not too good and kind of boring as well. Not the spiciest of the commanders. Okay, next we have the Shard Assassin, the Swordcraft Silver Officer. It's a 4 play point 2/3 Ambush Bane. So it has the stats of a 3 play point commander or a 3 play point minion, 2/3. So for the extra play point, you gain Bane, which is, you know, decent, and you also gain Ambush. So there's some ambush synergy there for the Swordcraft. I feel like the ambush deck, while it got a lot of new things, I don't know if they have all the pieces to really make the ambush deck actually be a thing. And we could definitely try, and that deck probably would play this, right? But it's just not too exciting either. Like, ambush is good, obviously. Bane is good. Is this worth playing over any other 4-drop in a non-ambush deck? I don't think so. Next we have the Luminous Standard, a Swordcraft Silver Amulet. Costs 3 play points, and it says whenever an allied commander comes to play, give it +1/+1. So they're definitely trying to make Commander Craft a thing. There's a lot of good Commander support, and I think that's good, because you want to get to a point where Sword has a lot of different archetypes, and it's not just like, oh, Sword, that's Albert Craft, right? You want to see, like, okay, this could be Commander Craft, could be Aggro Sword, could be Control Sword, could be something else. You want to have variety in the game, and that's good. Now, Banner would give officers +1 attack, and it would cost 4, and that was played for a while. So, although in paper this card doesn't seem that good, it costs 3, which is not that much. Like, you can afford to give up the tempo for 3, and I mean, you'd rather not, but you know, it's doable, right? Control Block can do it, and Orodex can do it too, so it's doable, and the benefit is good. If you're playing a Commander Craft deck, then you gotta man that the majority, if not the entire deck, is Commanders, and the fact that you get +1 attack, but also +1 defense is pretty good, right? If your Commanders have more attacks, then they do more with the cannon, they trade better, so it's a good effect. And although I don't think it's too great, if the Commander Craft, they could definitely play it, I suppose. In Take 2, I don't see this card being played though, because you can't guarantee that you have Commanders, and it also calls you a board spot, slot on your board as well, so that's not that great. But I like the card, it's solid, and it could see some play in Commander Craft. Next we have the Elder Mage of Dragonlore, a Runecraft Gold. It's an 8 play point 4/4, so not great stats, but the fact that you summon a dragon, and a dragon is a 5/5 minion. So by itself it's a 4/4 and a 5/5, and that's comparable to like kind of like a Neptune, with a 5/5 and like a 2/2 4/4 Vivo. They don't have Rush, right? So like not the best of stats for 8, but not horrible stats either. And if you have the right, then you get a Windblast Dragon, which is Storm instead, and that's pretty good. So I like this card because we're seeing a lot of rune cards that do a lot of face damage. There's already, you know, good old Levi and all those cards, but when you consider Halo Golem and this card and like Disaster Witch, you could be playing a Tempo or Aggro Dirt Rune with this card as your finisher. Because with an Evo that's 7 burst damage, that's not bad at all. And again, just like I was saying before, it's good because you want to have that variety where you queue up against Rune and you don't know what they're playing. And if they're playing Earth Rune, they could be playing a Control Earth Rune or an Aggro Dirt Rune. And that's good. That's good for the game. And Control Rune can also play this card to give them that extra burst that they need. But I think Tempo or Aggro Dirt Rune could definitely be a thing. And I think, although an 8 cost is kind of heavy for an aggro deck, I think they would play as a finisher. So I like the card. And I like that they're trying to push different archetypes. So I think it's solid. Decent. Like, next we have the Mage of Nightfall. A Runecraft Bronze. 3 play point 3/2. Earthright, gain +1/+1 ambush. So like I was saying, they're trying to make a more aggressive Earthright deck a thing. And they definitely would play this, right? Because the ambush means that you essentially get the damage to the face, pretty much guaranteed. So as a 4/3 with ambush, it's pretty decent, right? Essentially you can like have it ambush and then make it go face next turn. I think the Aggro Dirt Rune probably would play this, right? It's just good for that. I don't think the standard or the more control-y Earth Rune deck would play this, right? But in the other deck, it could be good. It just seems decent, right? And at worst, it's a 3/3/2, which is like okay stats, right? Not bad. It's like good style for a 3-drop, so just seems good, decent. Not insane or anything, but just, you know, you need a lot of like okay cards to make the archetype work, right? So that definitely helps with that. Okay, next we have Ouroboros, the Dragoncraft Legendary. 8 play point 8/4. When this card was first announced, it did not have the last words on the Oniwood part, and people were outraged, complaining, whining, all the good stuff, right? It was added that it did have last words, even if it's Oniwood, and that makes this card a lot better. So, Fanfare, you deal 2 damage to an enemy, and that's good. Last words, you heal for 3 to your leader, that's good. And you get an Ouroboros back to your hand, that's good. So, it seems pretty solid, right? Stat-wise, the stats are like interesting because it's a really aggressive minion with low health. So, what that means is that your opponent wants to clear this minion as they don't want to take 8 or 10 to the face. And they can because he has low health. But obviously, if they kill him, you get to replay him, which is good, right? So it makes sense that the stats are like that. And although I don't think it's like super crazy or anything like that, I definitely could see most, if not all, well, probably not all, but a good amount of Dragon decks will definitely play this. Probably maybe as a one-off, and then maybe more if you want to do like go all in on the Ouroboros. Like, obviously, he can be banished and not the last words or whatever. But that's not that relevant. Even if you're playing once, it's like still okay, right? Because it's an 8-drop that does fight the board. The heal is nice. And it's just good value, right? In Arena, also insanely good as well. So, it went from being like a pretty bad card to being a good card. It's just good. So, I do like it. Next, we have Dragon Slayer's Price. A Dragoncraft Gold, 4 play point spell. Discard your hand. Then deal 5 damage to all followers. I don't like this card, and I don't like this card one bit. So, the fact that you discard your hand, I don't have a problem with. That is fine. They're trying to push Disco Dragon, and that's good. Because, again, you like to see variety. And you like to see Disco Dragon be a thing. So, in Disco Dragon, discard your hand is good, right? It should be. So, that part is fine. The problem is that for you, discard your hand, which is a drawback, right? The benefit that you get is not even that great. As you deal 5 damage to not only the enemy followers, but also your own dudes as well, right? Like, if this card was discard your hand, deal 5 damage to all enemy followers, this round will definitely play this, right? But it kills your own board as well, and that's not great. And obviously, you also absolutely need the right amulet for this card to even be playable, because without it, then you have no hand, and then you're not going to win the game, right? So, I don't like it. I like that they're trying to make Disco a thing, and I feel like at one point they will, but I don't think this card is good at all. And in Take 2, oh man, you will be so incredibly sad if you gotta take this in Take 2. Okay, next we have Lightning Blast, and this card is pretty spicy. It's a 6 play point, Dragoncraft Silver spell. So it says banish an enemy follower or amulet. If you enhance 10, you banish all enemy followers and amulets. So, let me say in a short way that this card is good. This is a good card. Because this card is very good. It's a very good card. That said, I think people are heavily, and I mean heavily, overrating this card. You see people on everywhere crying that like Shadow's not a class anymore, Haven's unplayable, Dragon is like the best ever, this is the best card we've ever gotten, broken, they should nerf this or whatever, and I don't agree with any of that. This is a good card. This is not the most broken card in the game, does not need to be nerfed, or does not make Shadow and Haven not a class or anything like that. Just because you have an answer to the thing doesn't like make Shadow not a class, right? So you want to compare this to 2 cards, maybe 3 cards. So compare this to a 5 play point removal. So you have like Dance to Deck, Execution, Caucasitos. Those come in 5 and then destroy a minion, right? This costs 6, but it banishes. And you would take that trade. You'd be okay with that trade, right? Like you'd play this to play point to banish the minion. And it can banish an amulet as well, and that's obviously very good, right? That really is only really relevant against Seraph. I mean, I guess other amulets too, but you know, it does matter, and that's good, right? Like, you're okay with this. Compare it to, like, Odin, where you banish the same thing, but you get a 4-3 instead for 2 more play points. And in some situations, the fact that Odin gives you a 4-3 is actually pretty relevant, right? Now, what is nice about this card is that if you're playing this card, which you probably should be, then you don't have to play Odin, and you can play other 8-drops in your curb, right? Because the thing about Odin is that a lot of times you're playing things like Lucifer or other late game minions, and fitting the Odins in is hard, right? So you can play this card instead, and not have to play Odin, that's good. So, if you enhance for 10, you banish all enemy followers and non-amulets, so you can destroy Nephthys boards, Mordecai, whatever, and Sir Seraph as well, right? Again, that's obviously a good effect. That said, I feel like the majority of the time, and I mean like a vast majority of the time, you would rather play a Bahamut on 10, because that clears the board, and you also get a 13-13. The difference between having a 13-13 or nothing is pretty massive. Granted, this only answers your opponent's board, so you could have dudes and then clear, and then you keep your dudes. So, that, you know, there is that. Obviously, against Shadow and Haven, like, most of the time you would rather have this than Bahamut. But even then, not always, because a lot of times you can clear Shadow boards that are like Deathbed and dudes, and Bahamut is still good in the situation, right? So, it is a good card, it definitely is, but I don't think it's super broken like that. Now, are you going to play like 3 of these and triple Bahamut? Maybe. That could work, that definitely could work. Because this card is also going to follow up to Bahamut, right? Like, you play Bahamut, they play a bunch of dudes, and now you play this, you keep your Bahamut, you clear the board, and you go face, and that's pretty good. So, it's definitely, it's definitely a very good card, but I think people are taking it, overrated just a little bit. It definitely is a good card. You're happy to take this and take 2. Happy to take this and construct it. It's just a good card. Okay, we now do Prince. So next we have Prince's Catacomb, a Shadowcraft Silver, 3 play point 1/1. So pretty poor stats, right? But the effect is pretty strong. Fanfare, give all allied followers last words, summon a skeleton. She's a 1/1 minion. So in a deck that's playing like Shadow Reaper, things like that, you have a bunch of dudes already, right? Because you're playing like the what's the 3/3 that someone's 2/1 win dice? You're playing that guy. Name escapes me right now. And if you give those skeletons last word summon skeleton, that's pretty sticky, right? It makes your board really, really sticky and like decent against AoE. And it's definitely for that aggressive like shadow deck, right? Which is, it's good there, I suppose, right? It's just decent there. So it's like a cool card. In take 2, it's like you'd have to have like 2 targets hit for this to be good, right? Essentially. And that shouldn't be that difficult. But it's also not free either. Like you can't play this on an empty board. That's super bad, right? But it's good. It's decent. Next we have Master of the Black Death. A Bloodcraft Amulet, 2 play points. Countdown 5. Whenever your leader takes damage, reduce the damage to 0. And then you subtract the same amount from the amulet's countdown instead. And you can only essentially get 1. Like the effect wouldn't like double down, if that makes sense. So you play this, you essentially like heal for 5. But from my understanding, it can overheal you in the sense that if you play this and you have 5 countdown and they do 10 damage, it makes damage 0 and then this amulet dies, right? So we would like in that situation it will heal you for 10, quote unquote. You can also play this while you're at 20 life and go to like 25 essentially, right? So that's pretty cool, interesting. Another cool thing about this card is that you can be in 10 play points, not 10 play points, at 10 life, aka you're in vengeance. Then you play this card, you heal, but you're still in vengeance, and that's cool, right? So those are all really cool stuff. My only concern here is that most of the cards, if not all the cards in the game right now, that heal, they do something else. So let me give you some examples. For example, we'll go to Blood first. So Vampiric Kiss heals for 2, does 2 damage to a minion. Drain heals for 2, does 4 damage to a minion. Rider heals for 2, you do 2 damage. Healing Angel, you heal for 2. You have a 2/3. Fairy Beast, you heal, you have a body. Like, cards heal and they do something else, right? Whether that be give you a minion, damage, something, right? Like, the heal always comes with something. The only case that is not the case that I can think of right now is Limo's Way. Because Limo's Way only heals you. And although Limo's Way can be played here and there, I don't think it's a good card at all. And you rarely see it. So the only drawback to this card is that the only effect that you're getting is the heal. That said though, it's like better than a standard heal in a way, right? Is that worth you playing this card? I'm not sure. But this could save you from some combos and things like that. So that might be worth a card slot in your deck, I suppose. Okay, next we have for Haven, the Judge of Retribution, a Havencraft Gold, 6 play 1/3/5. Fanfare, banish an enemy follower with 3 or less, and then you draw a card. So this card is interesting. It's a lot of effects in one, right? So essentially, you get a 3/5 body, which is worth like 3 to 4 mana, basically. No, it's like 4 to 5 play points, basically. It's like a 4 play minus is 3/4, so it's like 4.5, basically. Then you get to play Scripture, which is banish an enemy follower with 3 or less. And then on top of that, you draw a card. So like, we're talking value cards here. This card gives you insane value. It's 3 cards in one, and that's really good. And the effects are good effects too. Like, Scripture is a card that is played in most, if not every single Haven deck. You would always take card draw. And a 3/5 is solid. So it's all 3 great things. It's 6 play points, but it's all 3 good effects, and you get all in one card, which makes it great. Like, a lot of times you have effects that are like, okay, but if you put them in one card, they become way better, right? And these are good effects separate, so they become really good together. Like, yeah, you have the requirement to have 3 defense or less, but like, Scripture is good all the time anyway, right? So I think this guy is real good. In Take 2, this guy's insane as well, right? It's such a value machine in Take 2. And a lot of times, Take 2 is all about like the battle of attrition, game of resources, right? And this guy is super good on that. So I like him pretty good. Question is what kind of Haven deck would play this. And off the top of my head, I can't really say. But it is a good card, and I expect us to play in some sort of Haven deck. Okay, next we have Iron Maiden, a Havencraft Silver Amulet, 4 play points, countdown 2. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to a random enemy, and it can't attack the next turn. I don't think this card is too great. I feel like for 4 play point amulet, it's hard to beat Tribunal. Because Tribunal kills a minion right away and then kills a minion later on. And that's really, really powerful. This card would like damage a minion and then it can't attack. And then damage another minion and then that one can attack. It's like a decent effect, but I don't think this is worth a slot in your constructed deck. I just don't think the power level is that high for constructed. In Take 2 you can take it and be okay, but I don't see you playing this over Tribunal, right? I just don't see it. So it's kind of like just okay. Okay, next we have Octo Bishop, a Havencraft Bronze, 4 play 1 3/4, and off the bat let me say I absolutely love the art. This guy's just cool, right? Like he's just a cool dude. He's like an octopus that's a bishop. That's cool. Just looks, I mean, it looks weird, but in a cool way, right? So it's a 4 play 1 3/4, which are standard stats. Think of it like Goliath. And the effect is at the end of your turn, restore 3 defense to his father, and that's a good effect, right? Like on turn 4, you're probably going second, you're gonna Evilist and trade. So you trade into like a 2-3, you go to a 5-4, then you go back to a 5-6, and that's pretty good. So although I'm not sure this guy's good enough for constructed, he probably is not. It's not a bad effect by any means, and I see it's being pretty good in being pretty good in Take 2 for sure. Like essentially, it's like you could think of this guy almost as a 3 play point 3/7. And that would definitely see play, right? Obviously, it's not the same, right? But it's like a little worse than that. But that's still pretty good. Looks cool, good effect. Just solid, decent card. Probably not good enough for constructed, though, but in Take 2, I do expect to see this guy gonna be a pretty solid card. Okay, so next we have the Earthshock Ogre, a neutral gold 8 play point 6/6 minion. Fanfare deal 3 damage to enemy. That's solid. And then when you evil, you do 3 damage to enemy. Also solid. Interesting to note though, this guy does not gain any stats on evolution. Like most minions gain +2/+2. Minions with an evil effect gain +1/+1. This guy gains nothing. And that's a little weird and kind of weak. So although like the card is not horrible, right? In theory, you can play this guy, clear a dude, evil, clear a dude, and then rush 6/6 to clear another dude, and that's good. It's like by turn 8, you usually don't have evils. And if you do, they're usually spent like somewhere else, right? I don't even see Neutral Craft playing this. And if Neutral Craft doesn't play this guy, then I don't see what he was to play at all. Because most of like the class have like their own better 8-drops to play, right? And even if you want to play neutral minions, like, I don't know if you would play this guy with Lucifer or anything like that. Because Lucifer is like game winning, right? This guy is not. And next we have, I think this is going to be the last card, and perhaps the best card. We got Frozen Mammoth, a neutral silver amulet, 3 play points. So let me say that I am sad and devastated that we did not get any other Orca support. That makes me really, really sad. That said, we got more Mammoth support, and I did not see that happening. So it's mind-blowing that we did, and I do love the Mammoth, you guys know that. So I'm happy that we did get Mammoth support. So how good is this card? When you play a follower that costs at least 7 play points, destroy this amulet. When this amulet dies, you get a Mammoth. And Mammoth is a 6 play point 6/7 minion who likes to trunk the other minions, right? So I want to compare this card to the Haven Amulet that summons the 6/6 dragon. It's a 3 play point, 3 countdown summon a 6/6 dragon. And that card is like not good, right? It's not good enough. Now the Mammoth is a 6/7, which is better than the 6/6 dragon. And obviously, this guy's a neutral card. You can play this anywhere, not just Haven. And you also can proc it with a 7 play point minion instead. Although usually, that's probably going to take like the 3 turns, right? There is some cool combos with this card though. Like, you can play Daria for less, and it would proc this card. And that would give you a scary Daria board, right? So like that, there's cute combos with it that's good. I also wonder how the interaction with Bahamut is. Because I wonder if Bahamut is summoned, and then this guy procs, and then Bahamut kills it. But I think more likely Bahamut Fanfare happens first. Kills the amulet, and then you get Bahamut and the 6/7 Mammoth. And that's actually a pretty massive difference, as it will give you a board clear and have a better board, right? That said, I don't know, like, it's a cool card, and I expect to see some play. I think it has potential. It's a matter of figuring out what the best spot for this card is, but I do like the card, and I do love the Mammoth. And we're definitely going to try and make this work in whatever deck it takes. Maybe like in Ramp Dragon, you play a turn 3, then you ramp up to a 7 playable minion and you get a Mammoth. Something like that, I don't know. Yeah, I think it has potential. We'll try and make it work.